Hey friends, it is the day after the election and we still don't have a president. And it irritates me that grown adults can't sit down and have a conversation with one another without arguing and fighting. But I digress, and we will sort this thing out eventually, I'm sure. But if you're like a lot of the world and you live in an urban area, you might have a little bit of fear in the back of your mind of there being some civil unrest happening in the near future, much like we've seen in the past. And if that's the case, you've probably also got in your mind that you might be needing to get out of that area. Fortunately for me, I live in a very rural area. I have very few neighbors, and the few that I have are a long ways away, which is ideal. And if you're set up like me, and you've got kind of that prepper mindset, you might be anticipating having some refugees coming your way, and that's what I want to talk about today. Now, we are in what I call the Rooster Roost. Man cave, some would say. It is the loft of my barn that I have relatively recently finished and turned into a place where you could potentially live if need be, whether that be me or somebody else. If the need should arise, I might potentially be giving up my spot in the house and coming out here because I'm willing to endure a little bit more suffering than others might. Now, like I said before, I am of the mindset that I might be taking in people that are coming from urban areas, family, friends, close relatives, and friends that might be a little less prepared and just live in a less ideal situation. And that's exactly what I've built this Rooster Roost for, is overflow, essentially. It is a place where you can put some people up because you need elbow room. You need some space. You can't have 10 people show up to your house and cram everybody into the living room. It just won't work. It's just not going to do. Everybody needs their own kind of space, and that's what this is for. I've also finished the basement of my house, of my home, so we can have some room there to sleep. Quite a few people, a couple families could sleep in there, no problem. But now, in talking about that, there's a couple things that need to be addressed before you take that plunge into saying, okay, I'm willing to accept some people into my home. The first thing I would say that needs to be addressed is declaring that I'm going to be the captain of this ship. Just like our country needs a leader, just like every ship needs a captain, there needs to be somebody that's going to have the final say in decisions that are made. Without that, your ship is just going to be sailing in circles, and you're not going to really go anywhere. You're not going to be productive. And I need it to be very clear that if people are coming here, I'm willing to listen to ideas and weigh out different options and solutions and hear people out and utilize different people's strengths and weaknesses. But when it comes down to decision time, are we going to turn left or are we going to turn right? I need to have the final say, and that needs to be out there immediately before anything else gets done. I'm setting this place up just like I have inside my home. This is just like a mini replica of what I've got going on inside my house. I've got all of the essentials. Number one, food. I've got foodstuffs out here. I've probably got a month's supply of food out here for myself. Right? Just for one individual, I've got a month's supply of food. And in that, it's actually downstairs. We'll talk about that in a second. Actually, I'll take you down there. Take you down the old steps, give you the tour of the place. I've been really working on organizing my barn and getting it turned into a very usable, functional workspace where I know where everything is. If I need a screw, nut, bolt, whatever, I know that it's in this section of the barn, either in a bucket, in here, in this bin, in one of these tool drawers, whatever it may be, or underneath. I've got quite a few things stashed away, squirreled away. I keep every nut and bolt, every screw that is imaginable. But anyway, back on track. If you're going to have, if it's understood that people are going to be coming your way, you need to have foodstuffs set aside for your family. And then you need to have a conversation with the people that are coming your way that they need to have a minimum, absolute minimum of 1 month's supply of food for each individual in the family. Now, it could be something like this, freeze-dried foods like this. that is fine. These are really, really easy to tote around because they weigh absolutely nothing. They keep for a long, long, long time. But it doesn't have to be that. It could be really anything. But key thing here, pay attention to this, is that you don't show up, if you're the refugee, you don't show up to somebody's place with coolers full of food that needs to be refrigerated or frozen and whatnot. Because that's just, if you're anything like me, my freezers and refrigerator is full pretty much all the time. We keep it stocked. So having additional things that are not shelf stable is just not going to be a thing. Water is also a big deal. Show up with some water, at least a couple days worth of water for your family, so we're not having to scramble and figure out what to do with that. In my situation's pretty good here. I've got a creek right over here. Creek there where I can access some water. I can get that pretty fresh, clean water from right there. Obviously, you need to filter it, boil it. You could get away without filtering that water over there. It's pretty clean, comes straight from the mountains over there, but a pre-filter at least would be a good idea. And then boiling it, it'll be fine. I've also got a pond over there past Maggie taking a nap in the sunshine. I've got a pond over here that's just a natural catchment for water as well. Now, water, I can store some water. I've got these big barrels, these big 5-gallon water containers here, and I can fill them up, which I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep it up in the Rooster Roost. I got two of them, so I can have 10 gallons ready to go water, ready to drink water. I just got to figure out a way to cap them. I haven't sorted that solution out yet, but I'll come up with something, I'm sure. Can we get it on the first try? Ah, so close, very close. If you plan on using a flashlight and batteries, make sure you bring flashlight and batteries. The next thing that we need to talk about is bedding. If you're that refugee, don't show up to someone's home and expect them to be ready with a blanket to wrap around you like FEMA. That may not be the case. Show up with a sleeping bag at a minimum for everybody in your family. Pillows, blankets, extra sheets, whatever it may be. Make sure you come prepared with that stuff. I have some stuff set aside for people that might need it. I've got some extra wool blankets. I've got several. These are just two that I have in the Rooster Roost currently. These two bins are full of, as they're labeled, sleeping bags, right? It's mostly the green military bags that come in the sleep systems, but they work. They work good. They're durable. They've got, what do you call it? The man-made fibers on the inside, not down. So they're easy to wash and take care of and that kind of stuff. Sleeping pads, I've got one set out there on top of the cot. Well, and not to mention, I do have cots. I've got two cots, 3 cots. One's not set up. I've got a couch that can be slept on and the chair over there if necessary. And then people can pile up in the floor. It's always an option. Bring a basic first aid kit so you can supply your family's needs for Band-Aids and boo-boos and whatnot. Now, undoubtedly, if things should go south in our cities, and you do have to migrate somewhere a little bit safer, there's going to be a lot of stuff to do. So you need to show up ready to work. There's going to be tons of things to take care of, because as much as I can anticipate needing to do or having already done, the list of things is just going to grow and grow and grow as the days go on. So be ready to work if you show up at someone else's home. Don't show up without coffee. How dare you? The winter months are upon us, and it's going to get a little bit frosty outside, and we need to be prepared for that. If you're that refugee, make sure you've got warm, durable clothing for everyone in your family. That means good solid boots. Leave your high heels at home. We don't have time for those. Leave your Sunday best there, because it's just not going to be very practical. So warm, durable clothing and several changes of clothing for you and everyone in your family that's going to be traveling. On the subject of warmth, I've got a couple different ways to heat this Rooster Roost. It's not very well insulated, so we're going to have some way to heat this thing up. And I've got a small little electric heater here. I don't know if you can see that. It knocks the chill off. It's not amazing, but if it's 30 degrees outside, it'll bring the temperature up here 10, 15 degrees, something like that. And it works well as long as we have power. This is a propane powered heater, and it'll get this place like a sauna. It's going to work really, really well. I just got to get the lines hooked up for it, and then we'll be set for that. In the house, I've got a couple different ways to heat. A wood stove is not in my house, which I really, really wish it was, but it's a very big expense, but it's high on my list, and I've got to get that taken care of as soon as I can. But out here, I've also got a wood stove. Got a wood stove, a small little tiny wood stove over there. That's awesome. I just got to get the pipes for it. The pipe run up through the roof, and then we should be good to go and have like 3 different ways to heat this place. Know what's expected of you. Have that discussion with the person that you're either going to, or if you're bringing people in, you need to have a discussion with those people as to what is expected of them, what they need to bring, what they need to be prepared for, what they're going to be doing, that kind of thing. Obviously, that's all subject to change depending on the situation, but you need to be ready and plan ahead for those types of things and just have those conversations. Security is a big one. How are you going to defend the place? You need to have everybody kind of trained up at least a little bit as far as using firearms. Firearm safety, number one. Make sure everybody knows how to safely operate a firearm without shooting themselves or each other, ideally. And just know the basic gun safety rules, and then know how to operate the weapons that are going to be on hand. If they have firearms and ammunition with them, which they should, every American I think should. And having a way just to lock things up I think is important too. I'm going to keep some ammunition out here in the Rooster Roost, and I'm going to lock it up in this Pelican case, and I'm just going to take a few lag bolts here and bolt it down to the floor and put some small padlocks on it. Yep. That baby is locked down tight, not coming out of there. I mean, with a real fight, a crowbar or something like that, you could probably maybe bust the plastic, but that is going to be a job to get in there. You could break these locks with a hammer, probably, if you hit it hard enough with enough wax, and be able to access it, but it won't be as easy as just walking in and picking something up. So in here, I'm just going to keep some ammo. I'm going to keep a couple 100 rounds for everything that I shoot on a regular basis, some 12 gauge, 9mm, 5.56, that kind of stuff. Loaded mags, got those ready, easy access, right on the top of the box. And then just some loose ammo as well. All right, in here, I'm gonna fill this bin full of toiletries, essentially. Toilet paper, paper towels, that kind of stuff. Some wet wipes, hand sanitizer, and that kind of thing. And I'm going to fill that thing up to the brim just to have some stuff set aside. And if you're that refugee, make sure you bring in that stuff as well. Don't expect whoever's place you're going to have all the toilet paper you need for your 15 kids. It's just that's not the right thing to do. So make sure you're bringing that stuff with you as well. And now I know it sounds like a lot, and I know it sounds like you're going to need a semi to bring all this stuff with you for a big family, and I get it. But if you have things organized and you have things ready to go at a moment's notice, it will be way less stressful. And if you've talked this stuff through with the homeowner in which you're planning on going to, his home or her home, if you've talked this stuff through, it's going to make it so much less stressful when the time comes. You'll have all these things already set out and ready to go, and won't have to worry about it so much when the time is upon you. That's another thing. If you've got pets and you're planning on bringing your dog or cat or whatever, make sure that's cool. Make sure you don't just show up with a giant big bull mastiff that eats 15 pounds of dog food a day, and you have, a tiny little quart-sized Ziploc bag full of kibble. That's not cool. Make sure you've got at least a month's supply of food for your pets. A minimum, absolute minimum. Maggie here doesn't eat that much, thankfully. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope I've at least sparked some ideas in your minds, encouraged you to take that step forward in being prepared, whether you're taking people in or you're that person going somewhere. I know it sounds like a lot, but if you think these things through ahead of time and you plan these things out and get yourselves organized, it'll be way, way less stressful when the time comes. Hopefully it never comes. See you next time.